You don't remember me, Cowboy?
You don't remember me, Cowboy? I'm the girl you once loved, as a child, said the Apache woman. Dust hung in the air like golden smoke as the cowboy rode into the forgotten edge of the frontier. His horse's hooves struck the dry ground with a slow rhythm, echoing off the old wooden facades of a town half buried in silence. The years had changed everything, the people, the roads, even the air itself. But beneath the sunburnt sky, something familiar pulled at his heart. A whisper from the past he could not quite place. He tied his horse outside the saloon, his gloved hands trembling, slightly as if his body knew something. His mind could not recall. Inside the piano was silent, and the only sound was the slow creak of the swinging door. He was a man shaped by dust and loss, a bounty hunter who had forgotten tenderness, who had left behind more faces than he could count. Yet when he stepped outside again, his gaze froze. There, standing at the far end of the street, was a woman unlike any he had seen in years. Her presence stopped the wind itself. Her long, dark hair caught the sun. Her skin glowed like warm earth, and her turquoise jewelry shimmered against the tan suede buckskin dress that hugged her shape with quiet strength. She walked toward him with the grace of a queen, though her bare feet stirred only the softest dust. For a moment he thought she might be a dream conjured by loneliness, until her voice, calm, low, and hauntingly familiar, carried across the distance. "You don't remember me, Cowboy?" she said. Her eyes locked onto his with the weight of 1,000 sunsets. "I'm the girl you loved as a child." Her words struck him harder than a bullet. Memory came flooding back. The laughter of a young girl beside a creek. The way she used to chase dragonflies and tell stories of the spirits in the wind. Her name was Ayanna. He remembered her smile, her curiosity, her fearlessness, and the day everything changed. The raid, the fire, the soldiers who tore her people from their land. He had been just a boy then, helpless to stop it, and in the chaos she vanished. He had carried that guilt through every battle, every lonely night beneath foreign stars. Now here she stood, alive, transformed, and more beautiful than the dream he had buried in his heart. "Ayanna," he whispered, his voice trembling as he took a hesitant step forward. But her gaze stayed steady, unreadable. "You left," she said quietly. "You rode away while they burned my village." He wanted to protest, to tell her he was just a boy, that he hadn't known where they had taken her, that he had searched. But the truth stuck in his throat. He had survived by forgetting, and forgetting was its own kind of betrayal. Ayanna walked closer until she stood an arm's length away. Her scent was of earth and wild sage, the same he remembered from childhood. "You used to promise you'd never let the world take me," she said softly. "Do you remember that?" He nodded, shame tightening his chest. "I remember." She looked down, then back up with eyes glistening like riverstones. "Then, why did you let it?" He had no answer. The silence between them was heavy, filled with years of unspoken grief. Finally she sighed, looking toward the distant hills. "The past doesn't need your sorry," she said, "but it demands your truth." He could see that she had changed. No longer the fragile girl he once knew, but a woman carved by hardship, by the strength of her ancestors. Her people had taught her how to survive, how to rise after being forgotten. And yet, beneath her steel, he saw something else. A flicker of the same softness, the same spirit that had once made him believe the world could be kind. He followed her outside the town to a hill overlooking the plains. The land stretched endlessly, painted with the fading colors of the setting sun. "This was once my home," she said. "Now it's only wind and ghosts." The cowboy's throat tightened as he watched. Her kneel beside a small stone circle, a memorial. She placed a feather upon it and whispered a prayer in her native tongue. "I come here every year," she said, "to remember the ones who didn't." When she turned back, her eyes found his again, softer now but still filled with quiet power. "You came back, Cowboy. Maybe that's enough." He didn't know if it was forgiveness, or mercy, or simply exhaustion. But in that moment, under the dying sun, something in him broke open. He removed his hat, his voice low and cracked. "If I could change it all, I would." Ayanna nodded faintly. For the first time in years, the cowboy felt the weight of his past lift, replaced by a fragile, unfamiliar hope. They rode together at dawn, the horizon awash in pale fire. The silence between them was not empty now. It was alive, Breathing with the rhythm of the horse's hooves and the wind's hum, she led him through canyons where echoes of her people lingered, where the red rocks held the memory of drums and dances, laughter and loss. The cowboy rode quietly, absorbing it all, feeling the ghosts of history wrap around him like smoke. At a narrow pass, Ayana dismounted and placed her hand against a stone wall carved with ancient symbols. "These marks," she said, "tell of love that survives time." She turned to him, her expression unreadable, but love is only real when it is remembered. He felt her words pierce deep, knowing they carried both accusation and invitation. As they traveled, he learned more about her life after the raids, how she was taken by traitors, how she escaped, how the desert had raised her when no one else would. Each word she spoke was edged with pain, but carried the dignity of someone who had never allowed the world to destroy her spirit. The cowboy listened, his chest tight with guilt and admiration. "You became stronger than I ever could," he said, quietly. "No," she replied. "I became what I had to." When they reached the edge of the river valley, the same one where they had played as children, time itself seemed to pause. The air shimmered with memory. "Do you remember this place?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "It was where you taught me how to listen to the wind," he said, a faint smile crossing his face. She smiled too, a rare softness lighting her eyes. "The wind still speaks," she said. "You just stopped listening." They sat by the river as the light faded. She told him stories of her ancestors, of warriors and healers, of balance between the living and the earth. Her voice flowed like the water, gentle yet unstoppable. He watched her, realizing that everything he'd sought in life, redemption, belonging, peace, was right here beside him, in the woman he had once lost. "What do you want from me, Ayana?" he finally asked. She looked at him for a long time before answering. "Not promises, just truth." He reached for her hand, rough and trembling. "Then here's the truth," he said. "I never stopped loving you. I just stopped believing I deserved you." The words hung in the air like a prayer. Ayana looked at him, and for the first time, the storm in her eyes softened. She didn't speak. She simply leaned her head against his shoulder, letting silence do what words could not. When morning came, the sun rose over the valley, painting them in gold. Ayana stood first, her silhouette framed by the light. "The world will still be cruel," she said, "but maybe we don't have to be." The cowboy smiled faintly, putting on his hat. "Then let's ride," he said. And they did, two souls carrying the past but no longer chained to it, riding toward a horizon where forgiveness and love waited like the open sky.